The girl left to rot. The ground was dry and cracked. The sun above was cruel, burning everything under it. In the middle of the broken land, a young alien girl lay still. Her skin was pale gray, covered in bruises and cuts. Flies buzzed around. Her open wounds. Her breathing was slow, weak. She had no name now. Not to her people. They had left her behind, because she was injured, because she was weak. Her own clan said she was useless. So they walked away during the retreat and left her here. Alone, her lips were dry. Her eyes were half open. She tried to move her fingers, but they didn't respond. A small whisper left her cracked mouth. Help. No one answered. Only flies came. She didn't cry. There were no more tears. Just silence. Just pain. She closed her eyes. Maybe this was it. Maybe she would die here and no one would even know her name. Not even the wind cared. Then, in the distance, a sound. Crunch. Crunch. Footsteps. The girl's heart beat once. Then again. She tried to lift her head, but she couldn't. She was too weak. She only listened. The footsteps came closer. She expected one of her kind. Maybe a scavenger, maybe a beast. But instead, a deep voice spoke softly. Hey. A human. A male. His voice was rough but calm. She tried to open her eyes just a little. He knelt beside her. His clothes were torn. He looked like he had been through war. Dirt covered his face. His eyes were tired, but kind. He looked at her, really looked. Damn. He whispered. They left you like this? She didn't answer. She couldn't. But a tear rolled down the side of her face. The man reached into his bag and pulled out a small water tube. Gently, he lifted her head and brought the tube to her lips. Drink. Easy. The water touched her tongue. Cold. Wet. Life. She drank a little, then coughed. Her eyes opened wider now. She could see him clearly. He was not from her world. His skin was sunburnt. His hands were rough. He had scars, and he had no weapon pointed at her. You're not my enemy, he said. You're just broken. She wanted to speak, just one word, but her throat refused. The man looked around. He didn't waste time. I'm gonna get you out of here, he said. Hold on. He placed his arms under her back and legs. She was light, almost like a child. Carefully, he lifted her up. Her head fell against his chest. His heart was strong, steady. She closed her eyes again. But this time, she wasn't waiting for death. She was listening to that heartbeat. He walked, step after step. The heat was harsh, but he didn't stop. Flies followed for a while, then gave up. The girl drifted in and out of sleep. Every time she woke, he was still there, still walking, still holding her close. At one point, she whispered, "Something. Why?" The man looked down at her. "Why am I helping you?" She nodded. He didn't answer at first. Then he smiled a little. Because no one else did. That night he found a broken shelter under an old metal ruin. He laid her down gently on a blanket. He cleaned her wounds with what little he had. She didn't scream, though it hurt. She only looked at him. Her eyes held a new light. No one had ever treated her like this. Not even her own family. The man looked at her again, this time with a softer face. "I'm Jace," he said. "I used to be a soldier, but I'm tired of fighting." She blinked. Then, with a dry whisper, she spoke for the first time. "Ka-rub." He leaned closer. "Your name?" She nodded. "Kara." He smiled. "Well, Kara, you're safe now." She closed her eyes again, but not because she was giving up. For For the first time, she closed her eyes and slept, not as the girl left to rot, but as the girl someone chose to save. Jace didn't know why he stopped. He had no orders, no mission, and no reason to care. The war was over for him, his team gone, his purpose lost. He had been walking alone for days through the dead zones, avoiding patrols and scanning for supplies. But when he saw the small, broken body lying in the dirt, he didn't think. He just moved. He knelt beside her like a man approaching something sacred, something fragile. The alien girl didn't move. Her breathing was soft, barely there, like the last flicker of a dying fire. Her gray skin was torn, bruised, and dirt-stained. One eye opened halfway, watching him, unsure if he was a savior or a predator. She didn't even flinch. She didn't have the strength. Jace wiped sweat from his brow and let out a slow breath. His hands, scarred and calloused from battle, reached into his satchel. He pulled out a water tube and gently touched it to her, lips again. She swallowed this time and her eyes blinked slower. "You're still alive," he whispered, almost in disbelief. Most humans would have walked away. Some would have finished her off thinking she was an enemy. But Jace was different. He had seen enough death, caused enough pain. Saving her, this girl who looked more dead than alive, was the first thing that felt right in a long time. He looked at her arm. Her blood had dried, crusted thickly on her skin. Flies still circled lazily, but Jace waved them off and used his own cloth to gently clean the worst of her wounds. She let out a weak breath but didn't cry out. Even her pain had grown quiet, like it had been screaming for too long and finally gave up. Jace studied her face. She wasn't human, but there was something very human in the way she looked at him. Scared, lost, tired. She reminded him of his little sister before the bombs dropped back on Earth. That memory hit hard. He closed his eyes for a second, gathering himself. He spoke again, this time softer, like he was talking to someone who mattered. "I don't know what happened to you, but I'm not leaving you here." Her lips moved. No sound came at first, but then a whisper escaped. "Why?" He paused. No one had asked him that in a long time. "Because if I leave you, I leave myself." She didn't understand the full meaning. Maybe he didn't either. But the words came from somewhere deep. Jace took off his outer jacket and wrapped her in it. She was light as a feather, nearly weightless in his arms. As he lifted her, she groaned softly, her body shaking like she might break apart. But she didn't. She leaned her head against his chest, her breath warm but faint. He walked. The dead land stretched in every direction. No one came this far unless they were hiding or dying. Jace knew he had to find cover fast. The girl wouldn't survive a cold night or another attack. He scanned the horizon and spotted something. An old observation tower, half destroyed but still standing. With careful steps, he moved toward it. Each time she stirred in his arms, he whispered, "Almost there." He didn't know if she understood him, but he kept talking anyway. His voice kept them both steady. Inside the tower, it was dark and dry. Broken metal and shattered glass littered the ground, but there was enough space to lay her down gently. Jace laid out his pack as a pillow and sat beside her. She coughed once, then opened her eyes a little wider. She looked at the man again, the strange creature who carried her, cleaned her, protected her. Her world had always taught her that humans were destroyers, cold machines in skin. But this one had warmth in his hands. "Name?" she asked in a cracked voice. He looked surprised, then he smiled slightly. "Jace." She tried to repeat it but failed. "And you?" he asked. There was a long pause. Then, like she was giving away something private, she said, "Kara." "Kara," Jace repeated softly. "Nice to meet you." He gave her more water and then checked her wounds. He had no medicine, only strips of cloth and fire gel. As he worked, Kara watched him closely. Her people had left her for dead. This man, this human, was fighting for her life. The night came cold and fast. Jace sat near the doorway, keeping watch. Kara lay still, her eyes blinking slowly in the shadows. Will I die? She asked. Jace turned to her. Not today, he said. Kara wanted to believe him. And strangely, she did. Outside, the world was quiet. Inside, something new was growing. Trust, small but real. Jace looked at her one last time before resting against the wall. You're safe now, Kara. I'll stay. She let her eyes close again, not in fear, not in pain, but in peace. Kara awoke to the sound of crackling fire. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The stars above looked strange. The ground felt warm beneath her. Then she remembered. Jace, the human. She wasn't alone anymore. She tried to sit up, but winced. Her body still ached and her wounds burned. Jace noticed and rushed over. Easy, he said softly, crouching beside her. You're safe. I made a fire to keep the cold away. She blinked slowly, her thin arms trembling under his jacket. The warmth from the flames helped, but the pain was still deep. Jace offered her a piece of dried ration, tough and tasteless, but it was food. Kara chewed slowly. Her people had left her to die, but this stranger, this human, had fed her twice now. She didn't understand him, but her heart felt something strange. Hope. Jace returned to the edge of the ruin. His sharp eyes scanned the horizon. The land was quiet, too quiet. He didn't trust it. There were stories of rogue patrols that still hunted anything that moved, especially wounded aliens. Kara's people had allied with the enemy during the war. That made her a target. And now by saving her, so was he. She watched him from the shadows. He looked tired but alert. His rifle sat nearby, but he didn't hold it like a threat. He looked like a man who'd seen too much and wanted peace. Still, his body was ready for war. Kara whispered, "Why fire? Won't they see?" Jace turned. "Yes, but the cold will kill you faster." He pointed to the cuts on her side. "You lost blood. Your body can't fight anymore. You need heat. The fire buys us time." Kara said nothing, but she understood. Every move he made wasn't just survival. It was kindness. Later, Jace knelt beside her and checked the bandages. Blood had soaked through them. "We have to move soon," he muttered. "They'll track us if they find the trail." Kara's voice was weak. "I can't walk." Jace looked at her, serious now. "Then I'll carry you again." She frowned. "Why do you care so much?" He stared at the flames for a long time before speaking. "I once left someone behind," he said. "Long ago. I still hear her voice when I sleep." He looked at Kara, eyes heavy with pain. "I won't let it happen again, not to you." Kara wanted to ask more, but her strength was fading. She leaned back and let her eyes close, feeling the fire's warmth on her face. For the first time in her life, someone had chosen to carry her weight without expecting anything. The night deepened. The fire burned low. Jace stayed awake, rifle in his lap. His eyes scanned the hills, always moving, always watching. Then he saw it. A light, a flicker in the distance. Then two. Scouts. His jaw tightened. He whispered, "They're coming." He turned to Kara, still asleep. Carefully, he shook her shoulder. "Wake up. We have to go." She groaned. "I'm tired." "I know," he said gently. "But if we stay, they'll find us." Kara opened her eyes, fear replacing sleep. She tried to sit up, but her limbs shook. Without another word, Jace pulled the blanket around her, lifted her into his arms, and doused the fire with dirt. Smoke rose silently as he backed into the shadows. They moved quickly, Jace stepping carefully over stones, avoiding dry branches. Kara's blood had left a trail. He needed to get far enough before the scouts picked it up. Behind them in the dark, distant voices echoed. "Cold and sharp?" "They're tracking," Kara whispered, her eyes wide. "I know," Jace replied, "but I have a plan." He reached a shallow stream and stepped into it. The water was cold, but it washed away the blood from his boots. The noise would cover their steps. He moved fast, water splashing as he carried her farther downstream. They hid under an old steel bridge, broken by time but strong enough for one last shelter. Jace laid Kara down gently, pressing his ear to the ground. The voices were getting closer. Kara looked at him, scared. "They'll find us." "Not if we're smart." Jace smeared wet mud over the bandages on her side, covering the scent of blood. Then he did the same to himself. "They're trackers," he said. "But they don't smell through dirt." Kara watched him work, amazed. No one from her clan would have done all this. Not for her. The voices came closer. Jace wrapped his arm around Kara and held her close. They didn't speak, they didn't breathe. Footsteps passed above them, slow, then fast, then gone. Minutes passed. Silence returned. Kara exhaled and Jace leaned his head back. "We made it." She looked up at him, her face full of questions. "Why do you keep risking your life?" He looked down at her, eyes gentle. "Because you're still alive, and as long as you are, I won't leave." Kara didn't know what to say. No one had ever said those words to her, not even her own blood. In the dark, under a broken bridge, with mud on her skin and pain in her bones, Kara felt something warm inside. She was still broken, still hunted, but for the first time, she wasn't alone. By morning, the world felt different. The sun had not yet risen, but the stars had already faded. In the quiet space beneath the broken bridge, Kara stirred. Her body was weak, but something inside her had shifted. She was no longer waiting to die. She had survived another night, and Jace. He was still there. He sat a few feet away, resting against a rusted support beam, his rifle across his lap. His eyes were closed, but he wasn't truly asleep. Every few seconds they flickered open, always listening, always ready. Kara watched him in silence. Humans had always been taught to kill. That's what her people said. They were cruel, dangerous, without feeling. But this one had given her his water, his food, his warmth, and he had not asked for anything in return. He hadn't even told her to be grateful. Her fingers moved slightly across her chest. The bandages were rough but clean. The pain in her side was sharp but not deadly anymore. Her breathing was steady. She sat up slowly, careful not to make noise. Her movement caught Jace's attention. His eyes opened fully now and he leaned forward. "You okay?" She nodded. "You should rest more," he said, but his voice was softer now, almost like he didn't want to break the silence between them. Kara looked around. The shelter was nothing more than broken metal and old steel beams. Still, it felt safe. Safer than the warmest home she had known. "You didn't leave," she said quietly. "I said I wouldn't," he replied. That truth struck her deeply. She didn't speak for a long time. She stared at her hands, dirt under her nails, cuts still healing. Her skin was pale, stretched too thin from hunger. Yet here she was, alive because of him. Jace stood and stretched. He looked tired. She could see it in the way his shoulders sagged. Still, he moved with purpose. "I'll check the area," he said. "Stay here, I won't go far." She gave a small nod. As he stepped out, Kara pulled his jacket tighter around her. It still carried his warmth. A strange feeling built in her chest, like a knot pulling tight. She didn't understand it at first. Then, without warning, she cried. Not loud, not wild, just soft tears sliding down her cheeks. It wasn't from pain. It wasn't fear. It was something else. Being seen, being saved, being cared for when she was sure she was nothing. No one had ever picked her up before. No one had ever whispered, "You're safe now," and meant it. Not her family, not her clan. Only him. The tears kept coming, silent and endless. By the time Jace returned, her face was streaked, but her eyes were calmer. He paused when he saw her, Are you okay? She wiped her face quickly and looked away. I'm fine. But her voice betrayed her. Jace didn't press. He just sat beside her and offered a small, cracked smile. You're allowed to cry, you know. Even warriors cry. She looked at him again, surprised. You think I'm a warrior? I think you didn't die. That counts. She let out a soft laugh. It hurt, but it felt good. They sat in silence for a while. The wind howled outside the bridge, but inside it was calm. Kara leaned her head back, her body still healing, her mind still full of questions. Why do you do this? She asked. Jace didn't answer right away. He looked out into the gray distance. I lost my brother to this war. I couldn't save him, he said. He died helping someone no one else would help. I was angry at him for a long time. Thought he was a fool. He paused. But now I think maybe he was the last real human I knew. I want to be like that. Kara watched him closely. There was no lie in his words, no mask. I don't understand humans, she admitted. Jace looked at her. That makes two of us. Another soft laugh passed between them. Later, Jace lit a small flame again, carefully shielded, no smoke, no glow. He boiled a little water and crushed some dried roots into it. It wasn't real food, but it would help with healing. He offered the cup to Kara. She took it with shaky hands. Thank you, she whispered. You don't need to thank me, he said. Just stay alive. She drank, feeling warmth return to her belly. It was bitter, but she didn't complain. As the sky began to brighten outside, a quiet peace fell over them. Kara looked at Jace one last time before laying back down. I don't know what tomorrow brings, she said, eyes closing. Then we'll face it together, Jace replied. And in that moment, she believed him. The sun broke through the clouds slowly, touching the land with pale golden light. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars, dancing quietly as the wind moved across the old battlefield. Kara opened her eyes to the warmth on her face. For once, the light didn't feel like pain. It felt like morning. Jace was already awake, crouched near the edge of the ruined bridge. His rifle rested across his knees, but his hands were calm. He was watching the world like it was a puzzle only he understood. Kara studied him for a moment. She had seen soldiers before, cold, angry, hungry for power. But Jace was something different. His silence didn't come from hatred. It came from grief and from care. When he turned and saw her awake, he gave a short nod. How's the pain? Kara pushed herself up. Still there. He raised an eyebrow. That's a good sign. Means you're alive. She managed a small smile. They ate quietly. Jace gave her the last of the dry food. She broke it in half and tried to offer him some, but he shook his head. You need it more, he said. After eating, Jace cleaned the bandages and replaced them with strips he tore from his own shirt. His hands were gentle but fast. Kara hissed in pain but didn't pull away. She was starting to trust those hands. Where will you go? She asked. I don't know yet, he said. There's talk of a safe zone across the canyon. Maybe I'll take you there. Why not leave me here? She said, half joking, half curious. He looked at her, not smiling this time. Because you're not something I'll abandon. She looked down, embarrassed. You say that like I matter. You do, he said simply. She turned her face away, not used to hearing such words. For her people, weakness meant shame, but with him, her weakness was met with kindness. And every time he said she mattered, a crack appeared in the wall she had built around her heart. Later that day they moved again. Jace carried her part of the way. She tried to walk, leaning on his side, her legs like branches bending in the wind. But she didn't give up. Step after step she followed him. The sky was wide and bright above them, and though the air was dry, it felt cleaner than before. They reached an abandoned bunker just before sunset. It was hidden under old vines and rubble, but Jace found a way in. Inside it smelled like rust and old smoke, but it was safe. He set down his pack and helped Kara lie on a makeshift bed of cloth and old canvas. "Rest," he said. She shook her head. "Not yet." He paused, curious. She stared at him, eyes soft. "Can I ask something strange?" "Go ahead. Do you ever feel like you don't belong anywhere?" Jace didn't answer right away. Then he nodded slowly. "Every day," he said. "Since the war started, maybe even before." "I feel that way too," Kara whispered. "Even before they left me, I was different, quiet. I didn't fight like the others. I wanted peace. They called me useless." He sat beside her, listening. "But when you found me," she continued, "you didn't ask for anything. You didn't call me weak. You just stayed." Jace looked into her eyes, and for the first time he saw something more than fear or pain. He saw a girl beginning to believe in something again. "That's because you don't need to fight to have worth," he said. "You just need someone to see you." Her lips trembled. Then she did something she hadn't done before. She reached out, touched his hand, and whispered one word. "Safe." Jace blinked. "What? You?" she said again. "You feel safe?" Didn't know how to reply. For a long time no one had looked at him like that. Not as a weapon, not as a soldier, not as a threat. Just safe. He smiled, a real one this time. "Then I'll keep being that if you want me to." She nodded slowly, holding onto his hand a little longer before letting go. Outside, night fell again, but this time it didn't feel as cold. Inside the bunker, they sat close. Jace kept the fire low and quiet. Kara curled beside him, her head resting near his shoulder. She whispered once more before sleep took her. "Don't leave. Not tomorrow. Not ever." "I won't," he said. And this time, he meant it with every part of his soul. Because she had called him something no one had in a long time. She called him safe. Days passed. The land stayed quiet. But the silence was heavy. Kara's body healed slowly, her wounds scabbing over, her legs gaining strength, her eyes no longer dull and lifeless. Jace kept her walking a little more each day. He carried her only when she collapsed, and when she did, she always apologized, but he never once complained. She began to speak more. Her voice was still soft but steadier. She asked him about Earth, about what grass felt like, about what snow was. Jace answered with tired smiles and old memories, and sometimes he asked about her people. She hesitated at first, but one evening, as the fire burned low, she said, "They built walls, not homes. They taught silence, not kindness. That's why they left me." Jace said nothing. He didn't have to. His presence was enough. But everything changed the day they reached the high ridge. Below them in the valley lay the old alien village, Kara's village. The ruins stood half buried in ash and broken steel, the same place where she had been abandoned, where flies had landed on her blood, where she had nearly died. Kara stared at it, her legs frozen. Her breathing became short. "We don't have to go down," Jace said gently, watching her closely. But Kara shook her head. "I need to." He gave a slow nod. "Then I'm with you." They made the climb carefully, Kara's legs shaking on the rocks, Jace supporting her without a word. When they reached the edge of the broken road, she saw movement, shapes, 3, maybe 4 figures near the main dome. Her people, survivors. Kara's heart thudded in her chest. She wanted to run, to hide. But Jace stood beside her. "Do they know you're alive?" "No." "Then maybe it's time they did." She swallowed hard and took a step forward. When the first elder saw her, he froze. The others turned and gasps spread like fire. "She lives?" one muttered. "That's not possible," said another. "She was left to the earth." "She was weak," the oldest spat. "Not worth saving." Kara felt her knees wobble. The voices hit like knives. But before she could fall, Jace's hand touched her back. "Stand. Breathe. Speak." "I survived," she said, her voice shaking but clear. Without you. The elders looked at Jace now. A human. Their eyes narrowed. You let a human touch you? The old one sneered. You let him carry you like a wounded pet? Jace stepped forward, but Kara held out a hand. No, she said. He saved me when you left me to die. He's your enemy. He's my protector. They scoffed. Then you are not one of us. Kara stood taller now. Her voice no longer trembled. Then I choose not to be. For a moment, silence held the village like a storm ready to break. The others stared, confused. She was still the girl they'd thrown away. But something was different now. She was speaking. She was standing. She wasn't begging. She should be punished, one whispered. She broke the code. She brought shame. But Jace didn't move. His hand stayed steady on his rifle, but he didn't raise it. He simply watched Kara. Whatever she chose, he would follow. Kara took one final step forward. She looked around at the people she had once called family. You taught me how to be quiet, she said. But he taught me how to live. She turned to leave, her step slow but sure. One of the younger girls in the crowd, no older than Kara had been when she was first pushed aside, stepped forward. Her voice was barely a whisper. Where will you go? Kara didn't stop walking. Where I'm not left behind. And with that, she walked back to Jace. He didn't speak. He only offered her his hand. She took it. They walked side by side as the sun began to fall behind the cliffs. Shadows stretched long behind them, but they didn't look back. Kara said softly, That place was never my home. Jace nodded. You just outgrew it. She looked up at him, something peaceful in her eyes. I think I finally understand why you saved me. Why? Because you knew I could be more. Jace smiled just a little. You already are. And as the cold winds returned, and the stars rose once more in the sky, Kara and Jace moved forward. Not toward safety, but toward freedom. She had returned to the ruins, not for forgiveness, but to prove she no longer needed it. The stars blinked above them as Kara and Jace walked through the quiet wasteland. The wind carried dust, cold and dry. But Kara didn't shiver. Not anymore. Her steps were steady, slow, but full of purpose. Each footstep away from the village felt like a chain breaking, one link at a time. She no longer belonged to that place. She no longer wanted to. They found an old rest station built by forgotten travelers, half covered in vines with walls made from stone and rusted plates. Jace checked the perimeter while Kara rested near a fire pit. Her legs ached, her side still burned from the healing wound, but her spirit had never been stronger. When Jace returned, he nodded. We can stay here for the night. It's safe. Kara gave a tired smile. Safe? You keep saying that word? He sat beside her. You said it first. I'm just trying to live up to it. She looked into the fireless pit. They looked at me like I was a ghost. You were. To them, you died when they left you. Kara nodded slowly. Then I'm not theirs anymore. No, Jace said softly. You're yours now. There was silence. Not awkward, just real. Kara pulled her knees up and hugged them gently. She looked up at the stars again. What happens now? She asked. Jace leaned back against the wall. I've been asking that for years. She smiled faintly. You don't have a plan? I had a plan once. It ended in fire and loss. Since then, I just keep moving. Helping when I can. Surviving. Kara stared at him. Then let's make a new plan. He looked at her. You sure? I don't want to run anymore, she said. I don't want to hide or wait for someone to accept me. You already did. Jace's eyes met hers. So what do you want, Kara? She hesitated, not because she didn't know, but because it was the first time anyone had ever asked her that. I want to live. I want to build something, even if it's small. I want to make a home, even if it's just with one person. Jace didn't blink. He didn't smile right away. Then he nodded. Then let's build it. The night passed quietly, wrapped in stars and soft dreams. In the morning they rose with the sun. Jace packed what little gear they had, and Kara helped as much as she could. Her fingers still shook from weakness, but she didn't stop. He didn't treat her like she was fragile. He let her struggle, and in that he gave her strength. As they walked toward the green line on the horizon, a place rumored to be rich with trees and water, Kara spoke again. "There was a boy once, before the war. He gave me a flower." I smiled. "My father saw and punished me." Jace frowned. "Why?" "Because I showed emotion. In my clan, kindness was weakness." He scoffed. "Then I'm the weakest man alive." Kara laughed softly. "Then I guess I'm not strong either." "Good," Jace replied. "Let the strong eat each other. We'll build something different." They reached a hillside by midday. Below it, small lights twinkled. It wasn't much. Just a few homes, a broken road, and people moving slowly between them. But it was life. Real life. Jace stopped. "This is it." Kara stared down, quiet. He looked at her. "You don't have to go if you're not ready." She looked up at him, her voice low but firm. "I'm ready, but I want to go as your equal." Jace blinked. "You always were." She took his hand. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. But it was full of something deeper. Choice. Not because she was rescued, not because she owed him, but because she wanted to walk with him. Beside him. Down in the village, a group of children ran past an old trader's cart. A dog barked. A woman hung clothes. Simple things. Beautiful things. Kara whispered, "I never thought I'd live to see normal." Jace replied, "It's not much, but it's a start." They stepped forward together. Every step she took felt lighter. The voices from her past faded behind her, the ones that called her weak, useless, broken. She wasn't that girl anymore. That girl had died in the dust. This one had chosen her own life. When they reached the edge of the village, people looked up. They saw a human man and an alien girl walking side by side, tired but alive. No one shouted, no one judged. And in that silence, Kara finally understood something. She didn't need permission to exist. She didn't need to be accepted by the old world. She had made her own. And as she and Jace stepped across the boundary into something new, something real, she smiled, because in the end she wasn't saved by him, she was seen by him, and that was enough to start everything.